think there can be something to practicing taking tests and just practicing studying deeply and making sure that you're recalling information for a test, because it teaches you certain kinds of study skills. All that said, I basically didn't take tests until college, and I did very well in college. So, and I was a great test taker with the SAT and ACT. It was just how my brain worked. I am more that, I do lean that way. And I've seen students who take tests and don't actually do well in testing. So, and it's not the point. Yeah, it's just not even the point of education though. I guess in testing can help you focus in and make sure that you're getting a good overview of what you learned. Is maybe a good format for review. I think there is a danger though in the type of cramming that happens with tests inevitably, and a danger in thinking too much about just the big picture and not delighting in just the details of what mattered to you. I do tend to add questions on my tests that are very integrated. So I think early on, I think it was even freshmen, I asked them, given some of what we had read, I believe we read a quintillion at some point, some quintillion in there. Given what we had read in various parts of our curriculum, and given a perspective on logos, ethos, and pathos, and I layered in a few different things. I said, how would you answer your Uncle Matthew who's asking you why you're even taking a great books class? So the students had to answer that kind of a question, but they not only had to answer, they had to reference some things that we had talked about. And so that was more important to me, that they understood the concepts and were able to communicate those things. I tend to think that memorizing too many dates is a waste of time. I think that memorizing main time periods and main dates can be very valuable, so you're not lost. It just gives you something to hang your hat on. It's just a clarity there. But I definitely think tests are more dangerous than they're valuable, so I think you'd be really careful with them. It's why I actually have at least half of my students' tests, I've at least given them the option to do a project, because they absolutely will remember that Greek theater that they designed with the characters that was their choice. They will absolutely remember the poem that they wrote, or the song that they wrote, or the video that they did. They will remember those things, and it will shape their loves. I'm just going to add on to that as well. One of my main goals is to shape my students' loves. I want them to love the Lord, their God, with all their heart, soul, strength, and mind. I want them to love their neighbor as himself. So the first and greatest commandment really does apply to everything. So I want them to love things. The challenge with a textbook approach, or a non-classical approach, or a classical curriculum within a non-classical approach school, with it that appears to be classical but actually is not, does not shape loves. It actually throws you information at you that you can easily conquer, and you can easily get an A on that test and feel great about yourself. There's some competition in people that does foster, can be a good thing to learn to strive for excellence in certain things. But I think more often than not, it teaches you to settle. I think if it's open-ended, you're learning how to you're learning how to love. You're learning how to care deeply about things. That is going to be a much more difficult thing. You can't actually exhaust your knowledge of something if you recognize how much there is to that. You can't, if you're talking about your wife, you're not going to ever exhaust your knowledge of her. And that's because the knowledge about her is inexhaustible. And so your calling is to love her, actually. And in loving her, you want to know her better. And I think that's how God wants us to approach the world, is to love it and to learn to receive it as a gift and to get to know it so that we can love it better. But it's not to try to get the heavens into our head, but get our head into the heavens, as Chesterton liked to put it. Well, and I would add to that, that's actually why I really value homeschooling. The way you approach education is going to, your goal is going to shape how you actually approach education. So it's not just the content of what you're doing, but how you even approach it. So whether that's the way your school model is set up or the way your homeschool model is set up. I remember my brother loved World War II, and he loved setting up army settings, and the amount of time and knowledge that he devoted to that was astronomical as a little 5-year-old. The things that he learned about these things that you could have tried to cram into his mind as an older student. And we all have kind of natural desires and loves, and we want to shape those. One of the benefits to education is you actually do want to introduce people or students to things that they don't think they love yet. But you want to have lots of time for them to have to learn to love. If you're being taught this is your curriculum and it's comprehensive and you are getting a great books education and you will know all you need to know through this, there's no sense of urgency to learn anything else, and really there's no time to learn anything else. So I think there's something valuable about studying whatever, having a broad education so you can discover things you may not have known you loved, but you certainly need the time to invest in things that you have natural interest in, and to learn how to love things. I think that's the difference between an employee and a business owner or an entrepreneur. I think if you have an employee mindset, whether you can be an employee who has an entrepreneur mindset, right? But to have an employee mindset is much more of a slave mentality. You're being told what to do. You're being given clear parameters. And I think God has made us to have a much broader perspective on the world than that. He's made us to do work, and He's made us to love work, and He's made us with certain natural skills that we're supposed to invest in the world. I think that if we're supposed to live faithfully, we need to learn how to love things and to be invested and to have our hearts invested in things. And I think we'll be more faithful in our individual callings if we do that.